recent times there are a lot of protests that is happening across Europe, US and Australia. So what is happening with these protests and who is to be blamed for this and what we could actually do to protect ourselves? Let's decode some of these things, why these things are happening. Let's look into it. Welcome to askraghulan. Thank you for all the love and support. If you like my videos, subscribe to the channel. So let's go step by step. First thing is what is happening. So if you look at almost all of Europe and US, Canada and Australia, almost all of these countries, people have been organizing protest. And so that's been done by the far right or the white supremacist groups or neo-Nazis or some of these groups. And what they're actually advocating is basically to stop mass immigration. And they're saying that this is being done on purpose. And they're actually proposing a theory called replacement theory. So the whole idea is because these protests are actually happening in countries where white population is major, white Christian population isn't major. And so what they're saying is how come all of these countries have something in common where there is a mass immigration, and that mass immigration is doing only one thing, which is basically contributing to the factor that the replacement theory is true. So the replacement theory, what it says is replacing the local white, not indigenous, but white population with the incoming Asian immigrant population. And they're asking these people to be stopped, and we don't want this mass immigration to be happening. And at the same time, some of these groups are also advocating that we should actually deport almost all of these immigrants, and irrespective of their status of citizenship or residency or something. Let's go a bit deeper into this. So now, why do they need to do these rallies? What do they accomplish? And even though they propose a theory called replacement theory, the immediate cause and effect is basically people are actually inflation. One thing is pretty inflation is everything is expensive in a supermarket and people are not able to afford it. And to be able to afford it, people need to earn it, and people are not making enough money. And on top of it, housing prices are going up and up. And one big contribution factor is basically the immigrants, which basically they have very good work ethics compared to the local white population. So they actually been working harder. And they don't really waste time partying or anything like that. They just keep working so that they are able to make more money and they are able to afford bigger houses, and that actually increases the bar, which basically the house prices are actually going up because there are buyers. And so the contribution factor here is Indians and Chinese. But if you look at one thing which I see in almost all of these protesters, they don't seem to target Chinese at all. Almost in none of these protests I have seen anyone targeting Chinese. And even some of these protests I have seen Chinese being part of this protest. And so most of these protests are actually targeting Indians and Muslims. So now, okay, I understand there is housing crisis, there is job crisis, and sometimes even not able to spend to upgrade the infrastructure and congestion. Almost a lot of these issues being contributed to incoming mass immigration. So now this is what happening. Okay, so now let's go to the next step. Basically, why this is happening. So is it actually truly to be blamed? I believe that there is a case of mass immigration. And I believe that it is being done on purpose. And most cases, what these white Christian countries have in common is wherever there is mass immigration is happening, there is actually a clear policy which allows that to happen. And that policy has been created by, most of the cases, it will be the left government. And there are few reasons why the left government is actually creating it. And also, trust me guys, when I say left, I'm not saying that the right is not being part of the problem. Right is actually allowing the left to do it, because right also benefits from this mass immigration. I tell you why. If you watch closer, doesn't matter which country you are from, there will be left politicians and there will be right. And if you look at it, both of these politicians actually get funding. You take care of any country. Both of these politicians get funding from some corporate companies, and they will be raising funds before the election campaigns and stuff like that being happening. And both of these are actually being funded by big, large corporations and powerful billionaires and stuff. Like in US, Trump has been supported by Elon Musk during the rallies and stuff. So now why do they do it? Let's say I'm a businessman. So I 100% focus on business. And so why do I really care about a politician winning in an election? Unless and until it profits my agenda of, doing my business. Most cases it will be this, it's a pretty straightforward relationship. A business guy will always think like a business guy, irrespective of it. I mean, like, they may have a little concern about society, but that concern, if it is going to go against his company, he will or his business, he will go straight on to the other side. So simple as that. Let's keep that simple. So now both the left and right, both have been funded by corporates and large billionaires and stuff like that. Now, why do they do it? So one thing which I see is, either being left or right, the mass immigration is going to solve one problem which the white Christian population or the white politicians were not able to solve it, which is the labor crisis. Because on one side, they have the LGBTQ, which is running wild on one side. And the other side, we have feminism. I even call it as pseudo-feminism. And because we'll talk about pseudo-feminism a lot, probably in another video. And which basically, fights for women empowerment, but they don't actually take equal responsibility. They only want equal pay without equal contribution. And then there is also other things such as labor laws. And, if you look at most of the immigrants where they come from, those countries, say for example, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all of these countries, have you seen any news where an employee sued a company and got $1 million? These news doesn't happen. And almost like, we are talking about a country, I mean, even include China as well. So we are talking about a country which has got billions and billions of population, where we wouldn't really hear these news of an employee suing an employer for violating his rights. Those things doesn't happen. So now what happens is, bringing these people in, like us, into the country, which basically, we will basically help the people who want these laws to be gone to eliminate it. Because, we don't report. And we actually accept abuse. We actually accept overworking. We actually accept underpaying, because that's what typically, we've been doing all these years with the outsourcing industry and whatnot. So now, once we flood these people into the economy, like say there is like around 2 out of 10 people who wanted to stand for labor rights and who wants to say, okay, I don't want to work after 5 p.m. And I think most cases, those people will be let go of work. So because rest of the people will take care and they wouldn't mind working extra, getting underpaid. So now what happens is, these things cannot be fixed by existing law or politicians bringing in a law which is going to be favoring the corporate companies, making people work for more for less. Now that is not going to happen through the legal system or the democracy or the constitution. It's not going to happen. So those things is going to come in the way. Whereas if you bring in these mass immigrants, like all these Asian countries, so these people don't have the system of respecting their own time. They don't have value system for labor and an employer. So they don't really have any such things there. So now these people is gonna ignore all of these things. They don't even follow the rules which protects them. And so now what's happening is like mostly people gonna get exploited, and that is gonna create more barrier between rich and poor. And so that means like, this is stage 1. So the stage 1 is basically breaking down all of these things so people get to work more and get paid less, and that becomes a normal. So that is stage 1 of this mass immigration. And the stage 2 is like people not going to own anything. So pretty much if you look at like around 50 years ago, 60 years ago, people were able to buy a house in a couple of months of their salary. But today they have to literally work 30 years, both husband and wife, not just husband. Now if you see, the advantage of keeping feminism alive for all these years is bringing women from out of the houses and making them part of the working factories, and now they are also able to pay taxes, because keeping them at home is not going to be benefit for the people. They're not going to contribute anything. They're not going to pay the taxes. So the feminism basically did the job. So now the feminism actually doing bit more than what it was intended to do it. So the original intention is basically to bring women out of the home and make them work and make them pay taxes. Now that has been done. So now it's going to the extreme where it actually adding more genders and pronouns and wasting time protesting and all of these things, which is actually, doing bit more than what it was actually intended to do it. Now to kill feminism, we have to bring in religious fundamentalism on one side, and the other side, we bring in cultures who don't really have this sort of ideology embedded into them. So that means like they value less. So I'm not saying feminism is really a good thing, because most of the things that we see is actually all pseudo-feminism. So we don't really see any real feminism. Real feminism died probably around 40-50 years ago or something like that, when people fought for elections, when people fought for to run along men in marathon and taking equal opportunities in risky jobs, and that is when it's all started. And then, the pseudo-feminists came and say like, oh no, this is all too much work, and I don't want to keep losing. I wanted to win. I just want to win. I don't want to fight equally to win. I just want to win. So that is when pseudo-feminism took over the job. But anyway, now this is what happening. So this is one side, people been using the mass immigration to get rid of these policies, so which will make people work more and paid less. And the other side is like the replacement theory. So the replacement theory, I wouldn't really be blaming that on the mass immigration, because if you look at the family structure, because I've been living this for the last 15 years and stuff, and if you look at most of the stable suburbs, you will find Indians, and majority of them will be Indians with stable families, with kids going to school, and husbands are actually going to work properly. They don't get home drunk, and they don't fight much, and there is not much divorces happening in the Indian community. So most of them work, and they raise their kids properly, and then the kids go to school, kids go to get a job, and the kids get a home. And so now you see, this is basically a pattern of how Indians work. But if I've been delivering pizzas in my earlier years, when I used to study in Wollongong University, and those times I've been to a lot of these white suburbs and stuff. I see a lot of broken homes. Almost on a daily basis, I see fights and people with druggies hitting parents, and all of these shows I used to see it. So I'm not really blaming that and comparing with this one. Indians also have their pitfalls, but in general, the culture contributes to lower reproduction, because without a proper family structure, you're not going to make enough babies. And also on top of it, there is plenty of things such as LGBTQ, feminism, which is going to make you single, and eventually, you're not going to reproduce. So don't just blame on replacement theory. So even though there is some part your politicians might be planning it for their benefit, but in most cases it's just you, and it's just your culture. So you just look at your home, and like I look at my home and I see like a proper functioning family, and my dad comes to home, and I see a family where that is an example that is said to be for being that's how the family that I've saw, and that's a family that I'm going to make as well. So that's a replacement theory that has been proposed by people. So that's one side. On the other side, let's go a bit more into this. Now, if you look at this left and right wing politicians, and they both actually aim for the same thing. So they're not going to stop the mass immigration. One is going to keep saying that, I'm going to stop it. And the other is going to say that, this is secularism and we need to respect people and all that sort of stuff. But guess what? They're both going to make policies which is going to enable this. And either one side, they're just going to do it without thinking, probably on the right side. And then they're going to screw up the economy. On the left side, they're just going to still do it, but they will do it either with ignorance. They don't know who the people that they're bringing in, and they don't study before they're bringing in. India is not just people with just one culture and one tradition. People have like around 843 languages that's official, and there is dialects. And each language will have its own tradition, culture, and so that means like people are different. So without studying it, and if you bring in people, and that is going to have its effects, because what is happening is right now Australian universities have banned students coming from Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Haryana and Lucknow, I believe. So some of these places, Australian universities are actually not taking students in, because they see that these people are actually coming for studies. They're actually coming to abuse the local labor laws, and then they're just going to keep working on cash in hand, and which might actually cost the economy. So now they have banned these ones, but imagine this, they are actually doing it after 40 years of this industry has been exploited, or people let it exploit because they get the tuition fees. But now the Australian universities have been put a foot down and saying that no, I'm not going to take students from these cities. But still the government is actually getting immigrants from these cities. Now this is basically shows that There is an immigration department which doesn't know what it's doing, and it's actually bringing in people who saying that they call themselves refugees, but they are basically radicals as well. So let's go to the next factor. So now if you see most of these protests, they don't actually target Chinese. So that's sort of like a bit strange, I guess, because next to Indian population, if you see in almost in any country, any of these countries which I've said, Chinese population will be the next, and they'll be owning similar set of homes such as Indians, and they'll be holding similar amount of businesses and jobs, and they'll be the same set of level of success, or sometimes some of the countries they might be even better. But why none of these groups are actually targeting Chinese? One is like they all have a pale skin, maybe they are okay with that, or maybe the other thing is like Chinese actually don't show themselves. They don't show off, because if you see, it's funny that why Indians actually being targeted, because Indians don't actually make more than 2 babies, and they don't pray on the street, they don't pray in front of the church, they don't burn their local Australian or any other country flags, they don't burn the constitution, and they don't demand the law to be changed and they want their religious laws or anything like that. They don't abuse the social security, they pay taxes on time, they do proper jobs, they don't take crimes. And if you look at it, all of these things are actually is characteristics of Indians. It's looked pretty ideal, and they've been almost in any countries. If you look at US, for example, they are the highest earning migrant group, and if you look at UK, they are the ones who holds majority of their homes. They all buy homes, they own majority of the properties. In Canada, they have been very successful, and in Australia as well, they have been very successful. So that means like they are sort of like an ideal citizen. They pay taxes, they do jobs, and they earn, they study, they do everything as should be an ideal citizen should be. They are law-abiding citizens as well. But on the other hand, Muslims do almost all of these things. They make more babies purposely to take over the land, and they even say it openly. Don't quote me on this. So there are plenty of imams across US, Canada, Australia, Europe. They're openly saying it on YouTube. They're openly saying it on stages, saying that we're gonna take over this land, we're gonna run over you. They've been saying all of these things. So don't quote me on that. And they're the ones who's praying on the street, and they actually pray in front of the church, and they irritate the locals quite a lot. But if you see like these anti-immigrant protests, they actually target Indians and Muslims together, and it looks like two far extreme things, but they put together. So there is few reasons for that. One is even though these far right white population which is doing this anti-immigrant protest wanted to get rid of these immigrants, but they don't want it to single out Muslims. Then it becomes like straight away head to head with them, which they are very scared to do it. And the second thing is like if by calling immigrants, it's much more safer. So that means they are not actually really targeting one particular group, even though they actually want those guys to be gone first, but they just want to include Indians as well, because they also, part of the problem is basically the housing crisis and some of these things. They might actually contribute a factor just because they have been successful and they've been like law-abiding citizens. And just by playing the books, they've been good and they've been targeted. And on the other side, Indians also contribute for this hate. And if you look at it, there is only very simple to put it through. So north and south of India. South of India, when they go next to a temple, they go crazy. They shout and they make loud noises. They irritate the locals. They are being stupid around temples. So they do all that sort of shit. I understand. I'm a South Indian. I'm saying this. And they behave with low civic sense. They cannot think when they are in a temple. When North Indians, basically, they do the same thing almost in any places, not just in temples. And they run around with an Indian flag as if Indian government gave them a life. No, it's a local government. Wherever you are migrated, you migrated because you didn't have a better life in India. You came here and they're running around with their flag. And do you see any Chinese doing that? They have been as successful as Indians. Do you see them doing that? And people doing that because what would local people will think? Like if you have your faith towards another country, why are you even here? And anyway, that doesn't stop there. So playing loud music and pissing on the beach, and this is all I'm saying about majority of these videos. You can find it, and there are plenty of these videos that comes from our North Indian brothers, and acting with low civic sense, fighting for petty reasons, and pretty much almost all of these things. Spitting pan is one famous thing. I can go right now, probably 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, where Indians going to be coming to a local shopping center or something, and then I can find pan marks. And if I set the camera there for a whole day, you will find almost 100% of them coming from north. So I'm not saying South Indians are better. South Indians are actually a bit shy and they're a bit more educated. And so it sounds like this is a pretty clear problem with North Indians. And you just imagine if you guys actually stop this stuff and stop posting some stupid things that you have done in the street, or even doing this stupid stuff in front of others. And technically, Indians wouldn't even be in that radar. Because if you see, like, we are looking like an ideal citizen. We work hard. We don't fight with people. We don't actually burn their flag. We don't ask their local legal system and constitution to be changed. Imagine, these are all like pretty major things, sort of like a pretty major thing concerns the pretty much the which is more important for a country, to protect its borders and what's within the country being what it is representing. Now, we're not actually doing anything like that. Just while you are here, when you're in Rome, be Roman. Don't act stupid. So when you're here, just you're an Australian. When you're in Canada, you are a Canadian. So respect the local country, love the local country. Don't show Indian flags and stuff like that. If you like it, just go to India and do it. And no one is being proud of it. I'm an Indian. When I'm in India, when India gave me something, I'm proud of it, what my mother gave to me. That is my Indian mother gave to me. But now my Australian mother is feeding me. Now how can I actually ditch my another mother who is giving me life right now, and then who keep praising the other mother? I came here because this mother took care of me well. I believed that this is happening, this will change my life, and I came and it did actually change my life. So is with most of the people who have migrated abroad, or else they wouldn't have done it. Just imagine, like, say people when they are looking for jobs, even though there is jobs which gives you better opportunities in a different city in India, people are not going to do it. People still find jobs in local city. So that means migration is one major move. If some country is actually making you to migrate to another country, that because that country gave you a reason to believe that this will change your life. And you did believe that, and you came through it. And people not just came in by legal means, they also come from illegal means, with donkey route and all of the other ways as well, to fight there. They even put their life in danger to come to this country. Now imagine that how much important that is to you. And in spite of all doing that, you're coming to this country which has given to your life. And if you act as if that, the another country is still more important to you, then you should go back, not stay back. I think with all the governments which has been, on these white countries, should actually declare this country as a Christian country and then give less religious freedom compared to what other religious countries are giving to other religions. So that is one problem that they could solve. Second is keep the immigrant population in check. And just for your sake of things, don't ruin the countries. And now the last thing people will be saying is like, Rahul, these white guys are actually not the natives. They're also immigrants. But trust me, guys, there is a country here called Papua New Guinea. I don't know how many people would have heard it. I know there are a lot of countries like that where there is no white major population. How many of you have migrated to those countries? So just ask a valid question. People are migrating countries which are being built by white Christians. Simple as that. So I have to give credit to them. And even though this country has been with the aborigines for the last 40,000 years, even if you leave it with them for the next 200 years until 2025, no one would have considered migrating to this country. So white population built this country, white population made this country migratable, made us believe that migrating to this country will change your life. And that is a major decision. That is the most major decision someone can take by leaving the place where they have learned to survive, where they learned how to live and make money. You're coming to a new city which you don't know what is going to happen. But still, they gave you that prospect of prospering in life and you believed it. So, I think Indians have to play a smart game. And especially North Indians, and I mean, like, if you guys are seeing it, before you jump in and throwing hate and things like that, I want you to think. I don't know, even if you gonna throw away all the foul words and things like that at me, I don't care. But I want you to think about it. Just imagine. Just look at you. You're not doing any crimes. You are working hard. Doesn't matter, you are in a white collar job or a blue collar job. You're working hard. And you have been very flexible. You have been very patient. You have all of those good qualities. I'm talking about North Indians. They have all these good qualities. You're putting your sweat and blood into this country, building this country. But on top of it, don't do the stupid stuff. Don't celebrate some parties in the driveways and in the road, and celebrating a function in the road, shouting in the street, and don't do all of these things. Just watch how Chinese are. Have you seen any Chinese doing that? Be like that. If Indians, especially North Indians, behave like that, and Indians will be having a respectable image like Chinese. Because we are earning good, and we actually have a very good advantage as well, and compared to any other country. If you look at India, for example, we have the northern portion of India, especially let's say in US and Canada, they actually own majority of the motels, and they own petrol stations across almost most of the part of the world, and they own lots and lots of businesses. And South Indians actually are going into all white collar jobs. Now this is a sort of a mix which is hard to find in any country. Now use this for your advantage. Don't try to upset the locals, try to coexist with them and have an amicable relationship and help people out. Build a beautiful image. If you're shouting on the street, if you're playing a loud music, if you're talking loudly on the phone, if you're not using the deodorant, if you're doing all of these things, you have to think that you are bringing hate to your children. You are bringing hate to your grandchildren. Some in your family going to be mugged or even stabbed to death. And that is all because our stupidity. Don't do that. Look at Chinese. Have you seen ever Chinese doing any of these things in a street? I'm not praising them or anything like that. They are playing a smart game. Let us play a smart game as well. And we are being put next to Muslims who are basically bringing in almost like 100% of hate, which basically motivates to this rally. Trust me, guys, if Muslims doesn't exist in any of these countries, these rallies, no one will be participating. What do people say? Look, these immigrants are coming, they're working hard, they're studying, they pay the taxes, and then they're taking the jobs. Do you think that rally anyone would support it? Today, these rallies have thousands and thousands and thousands of people are actually contributing to this rally. They're participating in this rally, not because of Indians. It is because of Muslims. But they're able to easily add Indians into that group as well. They're able to easily put Indians onto the front line as well because of our low civic sense. Sorry guys, I'm being very blunt, but I'm actually concerned about your children and my children. You may not be thinking about your children, but I am thinking about our children together. And they are the ones who's going to be in the streets when we are not around. And they might be stabbed to death. We don't want that to be happening. So let us build a good, respectable image for our fellow citizens and who are representing our country everywhere overseas. Every time you see another Indian littering in the public, shouting in the public, just go and talk. It doesn't matter if they're going to fight with you. Post a video, tag me in. Let us fight together. Because these things are actually ruining our image. Let us fight together to solve this one. Let's see again another video, guys, and thank you so much and cheers.